Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Vane. We are at a docking spot right here on the map. And if you try to find this structure, you won't because it is built. Now, how did I get to this point? I'm going to show you in 2 minutes. Is it just wall? No, there's actually a floor in here. So we can get very creative with what we know now, even in early access. And it's actually quite simple, but it is a lot of material and even more precision to get it right. So on that, let's get this going and I'll show you how it's done. Next, we're going to need some workbenches because even now I don't have enough material. Even though I've got more than enough of it, I don't have enough to finish. So I'm going to build up 3 right here. And we're going to go and get, we need to get more reinforcement planks. So we're going to go and start with iron scraps. I believe we're going to need some. We're definitely going to need pliers on those tables and hammers. And we need to get these tables started in brackets before we even start. Claw hammer, pliers, iron scrap. And we're going to craft 300 on each table. Next, we're going to get a cutting tools on each table. And we want to get wood logs on each table. And start making wooden planks. Let's bring over the hacksaw, log, and we'll make wooden planks on each table. 1 stack is more than enough, as each plank will make 4, so there'll be 200 planks on each table. Now it's started to rain, so before you're going to build all this, make sure you have a hazmat suit. Wear that. And keep going. This will keep you dry and work in the rain. As you're getting all this set up, do watch out for zombies. There's another one over there. And there's an increased zombie presence, so we could be in the midst of a horde soon. Now we want to get screws at each table and add a screwdriver to each table. And this way we're going to be already set up to make the reinforcement planks. Now let's get started with the build. So we're going to pin garage doors, garage fence. The fence and the garage door. I'm doing this in reinforced, obviously. So now let's get all the materials we're going to need for it. We have enough for the fence. Actually, I didn't wipe out the garage, so let's do this. Remove, pin, and pin. We're going to need a screwdriver in order to get us started. So I'm going to start with the walls. Just a corner, really. I want to get where I know I'm going to put the garage. So I'm thinking it's going to be about, if you're not sure, this is another really great way to do it, is just throw a wall here, climb on it, and I will be doing this a lot. Now you can see a whole lot better what you're doing. I'm going to flip this around, and that looks pretty bang on. There's one wall, and I'll bust this one. This could be a waste of material. It's fine. In the long run, it's actually going to make things a lot straighter. So this wall here, that looks like a straight line. Straight line. And that should be good enough there. So these walls are going to be broken down. So I'm going to build me another fence right back here where I could see what I'm doing for the garage. And I'm going to try to get this garage as straight as I can, facing the right way. You want the angles facing outwards if you want the door to open towards you. And I'm going to get this as evenly as possible. Okay, so this looks pretty close. The first garage does not have to be exactly precise, but everything else is going to start to be. So now we'll break all these walls. And there is a good reason to break these walls up first. That music, I hate that music when it plays. We'll come up here. Now we'll go back to the fence. I'm going to turn this around again. Now I want this as even on that garage door as possible. I would say about here. And now you can build up. I'm doing fence again because it's not letting me link to the other side, which I have now. And we're going to go on this way. All right, we got it all lined up here. I'm leaving myself 4 spaces for big trucks for the garage. But once this is done, close it up. And now you have your floor. I am going to break this. So what I want to do now is I want to evenly have the next wall try to match that floor as much as possible. And if it looks way off like this does, just destroy the 2 walls and do it again. Like before, what I like to do better, and it seems to be a whole lot easier, is build that wall behind it and see what you're doing completely. And then you can line your fence up a lot better. As you can see right here, this looks pretty good, but I want to line up where a beam is to the wood on top and try to get it as even as possible. That should give me my straight line. So I'd say about here. And there we go. So I'll build 3. And from here you can just jump up. And see, it just lines up a whole lot better. You might have a small gap in here. But it looks like that small gap is everywhere, so that looks like a really good line. So now I can destroy this fence and finish building the side. Now this does not look that terrible, but if you notice you're angling downward, like this is a little bit, it's because your beam for your wall is not perfectly straight. Which is these walls here. But if you're not too keen about precision, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's not going to affect it that much really, unless you go underneath. Because if you go underneath and you are leaning like that, then you might not be able to pass underneath your floor. But in this case, we could still pass underneath it, so I'm going to leave it like that. I'm fine with that. Now the side, the same thing I'm going to do before. I'm going to build this wall back here so I can see which way, see how this goes. and build another fence and line this up where it makes the most sense. Again, you want even as possible. Right there. That looks really good like that. Then continue on. There you go. Now it's getting dark, so I'm going to get myself food, get the drink ready, and then get set for the next day. Next day, yeah, a little hungry. Let's see how far we are. Well, we don't far off before it gets to the planks. So let's go into our truck. I do have some MREs. There's enough of them. And I got enough if I want to make something later. And I always go for the jugs. These are so nice to have. It's the quickest way to get yourself out of thirst. And you can wash yourself. Now for the next part of the floor, we're going to need a guide. These are just guide walls. Now you got 1 and let's say 3/4 panels to finish the floor here. So we're going to give it the same on this side. So 1 and 3/4 is about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line myself up. There we go. Line up my footing to that spot. And let's see if I line up. I gotta move myself a bit. It's not the end of the world. I'd say about there. Now let's get the garage. Again, it all depends. If you want to be precise, you can. I like to myself. And make sure this is lined up to my footing. And a good way to see that is if you look at the very top, if you're still lined up to your beam, then just go until you see red. That's extremely close. Get rid of the zombie. Get rid of that zombie. It's important. This becomes your priority is, even though it's a pain, is get rid of the zombies. It's like less likely you get a horde coming at you. And you do not want to be on this base if you don't have a second wall, if a horde comes. So we're going to bring this up. And we're going to do the same thing. But we're going to make sure that this is precise. So that's why I have this beam here, because it's going to give me a good idea as to how close this actually is. And seeing this, it is off. This garage is, actually it is off quite a bit. So I'm going to start that part again. Now another little trick you can do here is if your garage is not adjusted the way you like it, you can offset it with the wall itself. So if you know you're angled off a little bit here, then just make sure that you have that close to that same angle adjusted to the to your wall itself. So I'm gonna try here and see how that looks. See, now that looks very straight, even though the garage is not. So now I can build outward this way with that corrected wall going in the right way. Now I did destroy the wall because it's facing the wrong way, but if you want to clear up your debris, just close your door and then bring it back up again. And that will clean it up. There, that looks a little bit better. I think it's going to be way too angled, but maybe I'll give it a little more angle on it. So another way is just to destroy it while the gate is down and then bring it up. So I just decided to just remove the garage. And a good tip to have that I just noticed is, let's say you want to put a garage and you want to get exact. What I did is make sure you can see a handle at the bottom, the rails will go the opposite way. So what I do is, if I want to go here, I will actually line up the two little grooves on the top to that piece and try to get it as straight, both sides almost touching, as possible. And now you have a straight line here. That's just a tip for the trade. So this is not the garage we're going to use, but that makes it very straight here. Now I can line up the fence a whole lot better. Because one thing I forgot to mention, if you angle this too much, you're going to get like a roof. And that's not what we're looking for, like an angled roof. Like, I will show that actually in a little bit. Right now I want to get this straight here. This is actually very close. Again, we're going to close this, make sure it lines up with our wall, which it does perfectly. So now we can expand the wall. And if you don't feel like this thing is clipping, you can just, if it doesn't want to clip to the first section of the wall, just reselect it and then it will clip just fine. So we're going to build this out now, going to the other side. And you can even attach this from the ground itself. Very, very simple. Now anytime I go get supplies, check your stations. See, now they're ready for the reinforced planks. So we're going to have all three tables go. And now continue the wall. Now these are facing backwards. I'm not going to fix this up because this is just a tutorial. But once we close this up, we now have our second layer of flooring. And it's lined up really well. All the way down. Now if you want to fill in these gaps, you can just add another wall inside to seal that off. But this gap is because my first one was not straight. That's the only reason why that's the case. So now let's go to the second level. This one is a little bit easier because I'm just leveling it off with the beams itself and seeing. That should give me an easy indication of the precision for this, which this should be very close. And it's same process. Now if you build these too close to the other ones, you will lose this, which will in turn lose all this flooring. So you can make sure you give it at least that much of a gap between garages. Now if this garage is very precise to the beams, I'm going to have to make this perfectly straight, which is not really that difficult. I am just using the top groove seam, and I'm going with that. Again, this is backwards. That does not faze me too much. Now for this floor, until they actually make building go higher, this is the height right now. But if you go to another part of this base, you might be able to get a double stack. But we definitely need to finish this side first. But this side, I'm going to make this go all the way to the end of the garage. Again, even if you're doing the second level, you could still get these joints up from the floor itself. So that's as far as I want to go. So let's see if I can grab some planks. I can grab those. I can grab these. And I can grab those. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue this wall. It's hard to tell with these utility things exactly where your line is, but there we go. That gives us the start we need. So I'm going to go around. How far does this go? It goes a few more. Around and around. And I'm going to add the next layer too. I think it's something like that. Alright, yeah, that looks good. And then again, we can close this off. And yeah, there's a little gap. So this is why I usually like to start with the wall across so that you can close this gap, but because this wall is off, that's why this is. And it's not off by much, but it is a little bit. But again, I'm not worrying about this right now because this is just a tutorial. And I just continue the wall from here. So this is the basics to the base building. And then you just go around and you just get creative with it. And just to make this a little more complete, if we finish this, let's just make this garage a little bit more done. There you go, it looks a little bit better. So this gives you an idea of how you can get creative outside of the usuals. And if you want to make a base and create one, the lots are there. And that's what it looks like from here. So this, hopefully this will add a little bit of extra to the game. And I can shoot you. There we go. Oh, let's go play with, looks like a horde. Yeah, more zombies are coming out. So let's have a little bit of fun with this. Any more around? Oh yeah, there you are. Okay, I lied. That wasn't much of a horde at all. So anyways, that's the end of the video. As you can see, yep, this is basically the basics for what we have to go on. And yeah, this makes a really solid base right here. And you have a potential for a garage in here. This is a fantastic spot. I would definitely give this a high grade for if you want to build anything you want. The road is flat. Everything will level off very well. There's some spots where everything is going to be on an angle, which makes it a lot more difficult. But if you really want great creative with base building, I suggest right here is the perfect spot, which is located right here, right by the dock. So on that, this is Cerebrum19. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. And I'm going to make more bases, and I'm going to take different locations and see what we can do with them. So on that, have yourselves a good one. Take it easy.